There is a version of you that no insult can touch, no betrayal can break, no amount of disrespect can rattle. That version exists, and right now, it is buried under years of reacting, years of caring too much, years of handing your power to people who never deserved it. Machiavelli understood something that most people die without learning. The most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest, not the strongest, not the richest. It is the one who cannot be moved, the one who sits in silence while others lose control, the one whose calm is so deep it becomes a weapon. Today, you are going to learn how to become that person, not with motivation, not with affirmations, but with a cold, calculated shift in how you see the world, how you see people, and most importantly, how you govern yourself. Stay until the end. This will change the way you walk through every room for the rest of your life. The cage of reaction. Let me tell you something that will sting before it heals. You are not free. You think you are because you wake up, make your own choices, go where you want, speak when you want. But the truth is, most of your emotional life is controlled by other people. Someone cuts you off in traffic and your blood boils. Someone disrespects you in a conversation and your jaw tightens. Someone ignores your effort and suddenly your entire mood collapses. That is not freedom. That is slavery with extra steps. Every single time you react emotionally to what someone else does, you are handing them the remote control to your mind. You are saying, "Here, take it. You decide how I feel today." And the worst part is, they do not even know they have it. They go home and sleep like a baby while you are up at 2 in the morning, replaying the moment, rehearsing what you should have said, burning alive in a fire they did not even light on purpose. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He watched powerful men crumble not because of war or famine, but because they could not govern their own emotions. He wrote that the man who is easily moved is easily manipulated. Anger is not power. Anger is a confession. It tells the world exactly where your weakness lives. It shows everyone your buttons and practically begs them to press harder. The cage of reaction is invisible, and that is why it is so effective. You do not see the bars because they are made of habit, of ego, of the lie that your anger means you are strong. It does not. It means you are still operated by the world around you instead of the world within you. And until you see this cage for what it is, you will never leave it. The Machiavellian mirror. Here is a truth that will reorganize your entire mind if you let it. People do not bother you. Your perception of people bothers you. Read that again and let it cut deep. The co-worker who disrespected you did not crawl inside your skull and plant rage there. You did that yourself. The friend who betrayed you did not force you to lose sleep. Your expectation of loyalty did that. The insult someone threw at you last week has no hands. It cannot grab you. It cannot hold you. The only reason it still lives inside your chest is because you gave it a home. Machiavelli did not study human nature because he hated people. He studied it because he refused to be surprised by them. And that is the difference between a man who suffers and a man who rules. The one who suffers expects people to be good, fair, honest, and loyal, and then falls apart when they are not. The one who rules expects people to be exactly what they are: self-interested, strategic, emotional, predictable, and positions himself accordingly. This is the Machiavellian mirror. Instead of looking at people and asking, "Why did they do this to me?" you look at yourself and ask, "Why did I expect anything different?" You stop treating human behavior like a personal attack and start treating it like weather. You do not scream at the rain. You do not argue with the wind. You prepare for it. You dress for it. You move through it without letting it ruin your day. When you understand that most people act out of fear, insecurity, and self-preservation, their behavior stops being offensive and starts being obvious. The liar lies because they are weak. The manipulator manipulates because they lack real power. The loud one shouts because silence terrifies them. None of it is about you. It was never about you. And the moment you truly absorb that, you become unreachable. The art of emotional detachment. Most people hear the word detachment, and they think it means becoming cold, becoming heartless, shutting down. That is not what this is. That is numbness, and numbness is just another prison. What I am talking about is something far more powerful. True detachment means you can feel without being controlled by what you feel. It means you can witness chaos without joining it. It means someone can throw fire at your feet and you do not dance. You just watch it burn out. This is the art that separates kings from peasants, generals from foot soldiers, Machiavellian minds from emotional casualties. The emotionally attached man is a puppet. Pull one string and he gets angry. Pull another and he crumbles. Pull a third and he chases approval like a dog chasing a car it will never catch. But the detached man stands outside the theater. He sees the strings, he sees who is pulling them, and he decides calmly and deliberately whether any of it deserves his energy. Detachment is not about caring less. It is about choosing what you care about with surgical precision. Most people pour their emotional energy into things they cannot control, other people's opinions, outcomes that have not happened yet, arguments that do not matter, memories that cannot be changed. And then they wonder why they feel empty, drained, and constantly at war. Machiavelli wrote that a wise prince never allows disorder to develop simply to avoid a fight, because the fight is only postponed and made worse. That applies to your inner world too. When you let every small thing move you, you create disorder in your mind. You let 1,000 tiny fires burn unattended. Detachment is not retreat. It is the discipline of choosing your battles so ruthlessly that nothing unworthy of your energy ever touches you again. The power of strategic silence. There is something most people will never understand because they are too afraid to practice it. Silence. Not the awkward silence of a man who has nothing to say. Not the cowardly silence of a man who is afraid to speak. I am talking about the deliberate, weaponized silence of a man who knows exactly what he could say but chooses not to. That silence is terrifying. And it is one of the most powerful tools Machiavelli ever understood. When someone insults you and you say nothing, something shifts. The attacker expected resistance. They expected you to argue, to defend, to fire back. They were ready for that. What they were not ready for is the void. Your silence creates a vacuum they cannot fill, and it forces them to sit with their own words, to hear the echo of what they just said without the relief of your reaction. It eats at them, it haunts them, and you did nothing at all. Most men talk too much. They explain themselves when no one asked. They defend themselves when no accusation was made. They fill silence with nervous words because the quiet makes them feel exposed. But the Machiavellian mind knows that every unnecessary word you speak is a card revealed. Every emotional outburst is a position exposed. The man who speaks less, sees more, hears more, and controls more. Silence is not passive. It is the most active form of dominance there is. When you sit still while the room panics, you become the anchor. When you hold your tongue while others spill their secrets, you become the vault. When you refuse to react while someone tries to provoke you, you become the wall they cannot climb. The world belongs to those who know when to speak and when to let silence do the damage. Learn to sit with the discomfort of saying nothing. That discomfort is the doorway to a power most people will never know. Kill the need for approval. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly inside your own head. How many of the things that bother you only bother you because someone else is watching? How many arguments you entered were not about the issue, but about how you looked? How many times did you change your words, your posture, your decision because you were terrified of what someone might think of you? That is the disease. That is the invisible chain around your neck that you have been dragging since childhood. The need for approval is the single most destructive force operating inside your mind right now. It is the reason you cannot let go of insults. It is the reason rejection burns like acid. It is the reason a single look of disapproval from a stranger can ruin your entire week. You are not reacting to what they did. You are reacting to what their action means about how they see you. And that means your entire emotional stability is built on the opinions of people who barely think about you at all. Machiavelli said, "It is far better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." That was not cruelty. That was clarity. He understood that the man who chases love becomes a servant. The man who chases approval becomes a performer. And performers do not rule. They entertain. They bend. They adjust their face, their voice, their truth to match whatever the audience demands. That is not power. That is prostitution of the soul. You want to become untouchable? Then kill the need to be liked. Let people misunderstand you. Let them call you cold. Let them talk behind your back. Their words are just noise, and noise only has power when you stop to listen. The moment you source your worth from within, from your discipline, your standards, your private code of conduct, no one on this earth can take it from you because no one on this earth gave it to you. Read the room. Rule the room. A fool walks into a room and sees faces. A Machiavellian walks into a room and sees motives. That is the difference between a man who gets played and a man who never gets caught off guard. Most people move through life reacting to what others say. They take words at face value. They believe the smile is genuine. They trust the compliment. They accept the excuse. And then they are blindsided when the truth reveals itself. But the man who studies human nature the way Machiavelli did does not listen to what people say. He watches what they do. He notices where their eyes go when they talk. He reads the tension in a handshake, the hesitation before an answer, the way someone laughs a little too hard to fill a silence they are uncomfortable with. This is not paranoia. This is awareness operating at the highest level. When you can read a room, you can never be ambushed emotionally. The betrayal does not shock you because you saw the cracks months before the wall fell. The manipulation does not work because you identified the technique the moment it started. The lie does not land because you already knew the truth before they opened their mouth. This is what makes a Machiavellian mind so difficult to disturb. It is not that he does not care. It is that he already knows. He has already mapped the terrain of every person around him. He knows who is jealous, who is loyal, who is pretending, and who is waiting for the right moment to strike. And because he knows, he is never surprised. And because he is never surprised, he is never shaken. You want to stop being bothered by people, then stop being ignorant about people. Study their patterns the way a general studies enemy formations. Watch without judgment. Observe without emotion. Learn what drives them, what scares them, what they want, but will never admit. When you see clearly, nothing touches you because everything is expected. The mask of calm dominance. Your face will betray you faster than any enemy ever could. Most men do not realize that their entire emotional state is written across their expression like a headline in bold print. The clenched jaw when they are angry. The shifted gaze when they are insecure. The tightened lips when they feel disrespected. Every twitch, every flash of emotion, every micro-expression is a broadcast to the world that says, here is exactly how to get to me. And the world is always watching. Machiavelli understood that a prince must be a great pretender and dissembler. That was not about lying. That was about survival. It was about understanding that the moment people can read you, they can lead you. The moment they see what moves you, they own the map to your destruction. So you must build a mask, not a fake personality, not a shallow front that crumbles under pressure. A true mask of calm dominance that comes from the depths of your discipline. The kind of calm that unsettles people because they cannot figure out what you are thinking. The kind of stillness that makes the loudest man in the room suddenly feel foolish for shouting. When someone attacks you and your face shows nothing, it disorients them. They expected impact. They expected to see the wound, but you gave them a wall, smooth, cold, and unreadable. That calm is not something you are born with. It is something you forge through practice and repetition. Every time you feel the urge to react visibly, you pause, you breathe. You let the wave of emotion pass through you without it reaching the surface. Over time, that pause becomes your nature. Your resting state becomes composed authority. People will not understand why they feel smaller around you. They will not know why your presence commands attention without you saying a word. But you will know. It is because you mastered the one thing they never will: your own face. Turn pain into fuel, not fire. You have been hurt before. That is not a question. That is a certainty. Someone you trusted turned their back on you. Someone you loved used your vulnerability as a weapon. Someone you respected looked you in the eye and lied without flinching, and it burned. It burned so deeply that even now, reading this, you can feel the ghost of that wound. But here is where the weak and the powerful divide permanently. The weak man takes that pain and lets it become fire. Uncontrolled, undirected, burning everything it touches, including himself. He becomes bitter. He becomes vengeful. He lashes out at people who had nothing to do with the original wound. He carries that fire in his chest like a curse and wonders why his life keeps turning to ash. But the powerful man, the Machiavellian mind, takes that same pain and turns it into fuel, directed, controlled, purposeful. He does not deny the wound. He does not pretend it did not happen. He sits with it. He studies it. He asks, what did this teach me? Where was I blind? What weakness in my judgment allowed this to happen? And then he seals the lesson into his bones and moves forward twice as sharp as before. Machiavelli himself was betrayed, tortured, and exiled by the very government he served. Most men would have collapsed into self-pity. He wrote, "The Prince." He turned his suffering into a masterpiece of power that outlived every single person who tried to destroy him. That is the model. That is the standard. Every scar on your soul is a tutor if you are disciplined enough to listen. The betrayal teaches you who to trust. The failure teaches you where your strategy was flawed. The rejection teaches you that your worth was never in their hands to begin with. Stop burning in your pain. Start building with it. The law of inner kingship. Every empire that ever fell did not fall because of the enemy outside the gates. It fell because of the weakness inside the throne room, and your mind is no different. You can learn every strategy in every book ever written about power. You can memorize every law, every principle, every dark truth about human nature. But if you cannot sit alone in a quiet room and command your own thoughts, you are nothing. You are an armed man with no discipline, dangerous only to himself. This is the law of inner kingship, and it is the foundation beneath everything you have heard today. You cannot rule a room if your own emotions rule you. You cannot lead others if your own mind is in a civil war. You cannot demand respect from the world when you have not earned respect from yourself. Machiavelli wrote endlessly about the governance of states and the management of men. But buried beneath every chapter was a truth he expected the intelligent reader to extract on their own. The prince must first be the prince of himself. That means building a throne inside your mind that no external force can overthrow. Not rejection, not failure, not loneliness, not the chaos of a world that rewards the loud and punishes the deep. Inner kingship is a daily practice. It is the decision to wake up and choose your state instead of letting circumstance choose it for you. It is the discipline of keeping your word to yourself even when no one is watching. It is the refusal to abandon your standards because the pressure got heavy. Most men wait for the world to crown them. They wait for the promotion, the recognition, the relationship, the moment where someone finally says, "You are enough." But a king does not wait to be crowned. He crowns himself in silence and lets his presence do the announcement. That is the power no one can take. The untouchable mind. You have stayed until the end, and that alone separates you from the majority who clicked away because the truth was too heavy for them to hold. But you held it. You sat with it. And now I am going to tell you what you have actually built by listening to every word. You have not just learned ideas, you have been handed the blueprint for the most dangerous version of yourself. Not dangerous because you hurt people, dangerous because no one can hurt you. You now understand that reaction is a cage and you have the key to walk out. You understand that people are patterns, not personal attacks, and that when you study them clearly, you are never caught off guard. You understand that detachment is not weakness, but the highest form of control a man can possess. You understand that silence is not emptiness, but a weapon that strikes deeper than any word ever could. You understand that the need for approval is a leash and you have finally cut it from your neck. You can read the room now. You can wear the mask of calm dominance while the world loses its mind around you. You know how to turn your pain into fuel that drives you forward instead of fire that burns you alive. And above all, you have accepted the law of inner kingship, that no one is coming to save you, crown you, or validate you, and that you were never supposed to wait for that in the first place. This is the untouchable mind. It is not built in a day. It is built in the quiet moments when you choose discipline over emotion, strategy over impulse, vision over reaction. Every single time you refuse to be moved by something that once controlled you, you add another layer of armor to your soul. And eventually, that armor becomes so thick, so seamless, so natural that people will look at you and sense something different. They will not be able to name it, but they will feel it, and they will never test you twice. Now I want you to do something. Drop a comment right now with the words, "I am the throne." Let that be your declaration, your line in the sand. The moment you decided that no person, no opinion, no event on this earth gets to sit on your throne ever again. And if this reached something deep inside you, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss what is coming next. Because this was only the beginning, and what is coming next will make you unrecognizable.